Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? Yeah, as you all know, this is just kind of an informal opportunity for us to chat and talk about what's on your mind. And thanks for joining us on this probably where you're at least where I'm at. It's cold winter evening. Our special guest this month is Lyn Cryderman. And I hope you had a chance to read Lyn's bio. And he's way more impressive than his bio. So just so that you know, he led Zondervan for many years. He led Christianity Today before that. He's been an independent consultant, ghostwriter, editor, consultant, yada, yada, yada for several years now. And he was incredibly helpful for me and for the Frederick Buechner Center when we first launched that. I had no experience in the publishing industry whatsoever. And so, Lyn was extremely helpful in helping me get up to speed and has been incredibly helpful ever since I started writing for your life and publishing in color and the other things I do. So Lyn, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
So he is a wealth of knowledge.
I thought you were going to say, Brian, I thought when you said more impressive, I thought you were going to say he's more impressive than he looks.
Well, that's true too, but I didn't want to be that mean, but no, Lyn is an incredible wealth of knowledge and a wonderful, wonderful person. And if he tells me something when I'm talking with him regarding anything to do with publishing, then I listen. I listen closely. So why don't we go around and let everyone, tell Lyn and myself and everybody else a little bit about yourself. I'll just start down the list. Dan Lupo, are you there?
I am here. This is my first time here. I am an unpublished writer who is got a couple of manuscripts ready or soon to be ready, and just trying to figure out the best way to get it out there and get some traction. So I'm all ears.
Good. Well, welcome. Please take advantage of all the resources on the Writing for Your Life website. I try to, put as much up there as I possibly can to help give people advice, articles, videos, resources, and everything else. So,
yeah, it's incredible.
Well, it's been built up over a few years now, so looks impressive, but it wasn't that way to start with. All right, thanks for joining us, Dan. Let's see, Janet Lynn Boswell. Hi, Janet.
Hi, I'm also a first timer, and I actually recently became a certified trauma recovery coach, but I had already started my own blog a couple of years ago. It's called Pulling the Emotional Trigger. And I started it to share with people my story of being a childhood sexual abuse survivor. So and then now that I'm a certified trauma recovery coach, I've actually have a few clients, but I'm also working on my autobiography. And so that's why I'm here and would like to just get some information.
Sure. Well, as you'll see, most of the folks that are involved in Writing for Your Life are relatively early stage writers. So, that's probably what all of this information is most useful for.
Okay.
People are just learning. So glad you're here.
Thank you.
So let's see, Heidi Grogan. Hi, Heidi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good to see you.
You can see me. I know this room is another light I'm seeing, so I'm not doing that incognito, trying to be anonymous here. But yeah, nice to see you. Sorry that I'm late.
No problem. We're just doing a brief introduction, so just tell folks about yourself.
I'm from Calgary in Alberta, and I don't know Brian, I probably met Brian a couple years ago. I saw the tremendous resources, and I've been really grateful for some help, a lot of help. And so I write all kinds of things, and I've published mostly in Weavings when it was in print. And I enjoyed that a lot. And then a couple journals here, just literary journals in Canada. And I'd like to learn more about writing well, and work on a couple book projects, slow and steady. Yeah, that's where I'm at. And my background is working with women leaving the sex trade for about 15 years, and then always a lot in the classroom with learners who struggle, who are coming from addictions or the criminal system, and who just don't have their high school, and I get pretty excited when people realize that the comma goes there and they can write well and they can go to school and life can start looking really different. So that's what I'm passionate about.
So this week we're actually in the middle of a Business of Being a Spiritual Writer course. And one of the other attendees is another pastor from Calgary.
Oh, who's
His
that?
name is Kyle Norman.
Oh,
I don't remember what denomination he's pastor of, but he's a church there in Calgary. And there have been several people from Calgary who have, attended Writing for Your Life events. So it's always
wonderful.
Good to see. I tell folks that, I'm so jealous because I think Banff is like the most beautiful place in the world. And you guys live close to Banff, and that's just awesome.
An hour. And Canmore's halfway, and it's just pretty darn nice as well. And
yes.
Yeah, I feel very lucky. Well, tell Kyle hello.
Okay, will do. Okay, Jessica Lynn Kaufman. Jessica just joined. And Jessica, we are just going around to introduce ourselves. So would you like to say a few words? Jessica, you there?
I'm here. It took me a minute to unmute myself.
No problem.
Well, I guess I'm not sure what everyone's saying, but I live in Minnesota, and let me try to get my video on. There we go. And I'm a stay-at-home mom who does some writing kind of on the side, and have been sort of silently observing you all through the newsletter that you put out, and I've watched a couple of the Friday videos that have been done, and just really appreciate the encouragement and the advice that comes through. So that's why I'm here, kind of check it out a little bit.
Good, good. Well, as I mentioned, before you came on, I mean, this is really predominantly for early stage writers, just to help you get a lay of the land and see what other people are doing and learn as much as you can. So
Great.
Glad you're here.
Good. Thank you.
Sure, sure. So I see Lori Baldwin is on with us. Hi, Lori.
Hello, how are you? I'm let me see. I wasn't really going to show my face.
You don't have to. No one has to feel forced to have their video on if they don't want to.
This has been a crazy day. I've been moving and doing a bunch of stuff, but I noticed that you start having these Tuesdays in the evening. And so I thought this might be a great time because I'm working part-time virtually during the day, which takes all day. But I am a ordained minister, and I received my doctorate in womanist theology and ethics. And I'm in the process of doing a series of womanist interpretation of women's stories in the Bible. I also, this last year, I was a missionary in the Congo and ended up getting evacuated and a whole bunch of other stuff. So someone told me I need to tell that story. So I'm in a journaling writing group, and I've been journaling because I'm beginning to forget. It was trauma at the end, so I'm beginning to forget the details. So I've started working on that as well.
Wow, that's exciting.
So that's where I am, and I'm writing for a living. I do grants, and I'm a online devotion writer for my church. Right now, I'm kind of on hiatus. I've been ordained for 25 years and been very active, so after taking care of my parents who were ill, I decided I would take a few years off to kind of just regroup. So that's where I'm at.
Good, good. Well, thank you, Lori. So next up, Maya, is it pronounced Twed?
It's Maya Tweet.
Tweed. Okay, great. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm joining you from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I work there as a chaplain in a level 1 trauma center, a hospital there. So we're, of course, in the midst of a pandemic, and it's crazy times in the hospital. I'm working on a book of poetry that kind of relates to my experience of being a chaplain. I've had some poems published, but never a full book of poems. So I've been working on that. And yeah, just joining you all to say hi and check out to see what other writers are doing. Thanks.
Good, good. Well, glad you could join us. So M. Glaze, it's Mimi, right? Mimi Glaze?
There we go.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, maybe I should start with say I met Brian at a Bookner workshop in 2018 after I finished my master's in theological study from ILIF. And I don't want to, I'm very conscious of, everybody needs to share, but my general background is my first degree was in religious education. So I taught. And then I became a nurse for 20 years, which I'm not doing now. But when I left or completed my master's from ILIF, I've had something to write for years. I mean, I just naturally started when I was about 18 to journal. And I have tons of journals. So I started some serious work when I lived in Colorado, and I got mentored, and I haven't completed that. It's more like a legacy book, but I want to call it, or something to the effect, The Tango with God, how I see God in the moments of a day, just that kind of awareness. And I went to Princeton for the conference, not just in 2018, but in 2015, when Barbara Brown Taylor was there. And I just was really impressed. First of all, just going to Princeton is awesome. So I've been on this writing journey. I have published a little bit, but I don't feel I've done enough of what I need to do. So I have some works in progress. One that I started just a book for seed journaling quite a long time ago. So when I get ideas, it goes either on my laptop or in a seed journal. And one of that ideas was I could see that because of my background, I live in Virginia, but also I've lobbied at the Capitol as a nurse, but not for pay. And I saw the turmoil back in 2003. So I had this sense that what happened last week was quite predictable. But I decided a long time ago I should write about scriptural, like a 365 book against fear. What is fear? And fear of the Lord. Well, I started that in 2019, but it's in the works. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay, thanks, Mimi. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And so next we have Nancy Gavalanis. Hi, Nancy. How are you?
Ryan, how are you? Happy New Year. Happy New Year,
New Year.
everyone. And good to meet you, Lynn. So I'm joining you here from New York. I'm a former journalist, and I've written 5 Christian living books. And actually, I'm starting to announce that I'm starting to work on book 6. So pray for me. I'm just sort of in the outlining and rough draft stage. But I also do some book writing coaching. So I'm happy to be here with all of you. So I'm an author, speaker, life coach.
And I just did a book launch interview with Nancy a couple months ago.
Yes, in October. And now that the new year has started, I'm starting to get feedback from the readers who are using it this year. It's a 365-day devotional. So thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's good to know. Glad to hear. Okay, Patrice. Hi, Patrice.
Hi, how are you all? Let's see. I'm calling from DC as always, about 1.5 miles from the Capitol. And I guess this year I've decided to return to my roots. So I've been writing since 6th grade, and I've tried on a number of different writing hats in communication and training and development over the 21 years I was in nonprofits. And I thought I was going to do the typical Christian living type of writing, but I had a life event a couple of weeks ago, actually. And so in that moment, I asked myself, what would I regret having not done if I don't make it through this moment? And so I decided that I really want to go back to being a storyteller. And I've done storytelling in a number of ways, but my favorite way is to do in short pieces, whether it be monologues, whether it be short stories, whether it be essays, but I love compact writing. It might be because my training is in journalism, but that's where I am. So Brian, I have no idea what my project will be. So I'm really new again, but I just decided that I really needed to put those words down on the page and even find some of my old short stories from even not too long ago and see what I can do with that. And as you know, I decided to be an independent publisher just to see what it feels like to get my work out there. And if I get traditional publishing, great, but I don't want anything to happen and me not put my words out there. So I'm taking control of that.
Well, good for you. Yay. The one book that, what's his name, wrote, APE, author, promoter, entrepreneur? No, author. I can't remember what APE stands for now, but it's a really good book about how really an author is an entrepreneur. You know, I mean, you own your own business, and you have some wonderful colleagues here on the call who have self-published several books. At least I know Nancy Gavelanis has, and Sarah Efford, aka Refried Bean, have both published, I'll say extensively, several books on their own. And so it's a quite viable path, and you might want to reach out to them and hear more about their stories and how that's gone.
I will be reaching out to both of you. So thank you. If you don't mind, I don't want to assume, but yes, I will be reaching out if I can. Okay.
So speaking of Refried Bean, hi, Sarah.
Hi, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks. You?
Doing good, thanks. Refried Bean is my pen name, and some of this will go by Sarah. And I write mostly poetry, and I have written some novels too, like short novels that I think might be for middle schoolers. They feature imaginary mice that live in the corners of everyone's lives, and they I think I won't go into all of it, but I've been writing a lot and kind of hoping and planning for a huge audience, but I also sometimes worry that I've missed the time window for my work to really be appreciated. And it's like sometimes, so I'm trying to accept that if I need to, but still do the best I can to publish well. But anyway, I feel happy tonight. I have mental illness and write about mental illness sometimes, and I feel this is nice to see everyone, so thank you.
So Sarah was one of the emerging authors that was featured in the November Writing for Your Life conference, and she's got really funny stuff. You really ought to read some of her work because it's just hilarious. She's got a great sense of humor.
Thanks.
All right, so next, Sabrina Cherry, how are you?
Good, Brian. How are you? And
Wonderful.
Good evening, everyone. So I am Sabrina. I am an assistant professor of public health here in southeastern North Carolina. I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. So that occupies most of my days. Fortunately, I'm accustomed to writing quite a bit just because of my job in academia, but I've written for a different audience. I'm also accustomed to a lot of rejection because of journal articles. So I've had good training in that regard, and I've been fortunate to be able to focus on narrative research even in my work in academia. So now I'm transitioning to try to publish more of my personal work. Actually, I keep forgetting to mention this, but I found out about Writing for Life through Patrice. And I attended my first Publishing in Color conference last fall, and have just been overwhelmed by all the resources that you offer, Brian. So thank you once again, and just learning so much. So I'm happy to be here this evening, and good to see some of your faces again.
Good, good. That's great to hear. Well, thank you, Patrice. So last but not least, Sherry's with us. Sherry Mercer, how are you this evening?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing well. I just joined 12 by 12 challenge, picture book challenge, 12 drafts in 12 months. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm also doing Story Storm, which is just coming up with picture book ideas, 30 ideas in 31 days, which is pretty challenging, but I'm really enjoying it. So I'm just working on picture books, looking forward to publishing in color, and I'm still working on that contract. So
Good, good. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
So thanks everyone for just, sharing a little bit about, your background and letting everyone else know what you're up to. Lyn, would you like to say any more about your background or any words of wisdom to launch the group with?
Lots of wisdom. No, I guess what I would just say, it's great to be with you. And it's so cool. The closest that I can come up with is we're all the way from Calgary to New York, down to North Carolina. We got a couple of Minnesotans. I wonder if they're Lutheran. I don't know. But anyway, it's just good to be a part of this group and hear what you're doing. It encourages me. I've been in this business a long time, and we could have used Brian Elaine a long time ago. He has been a tremendous resource, one of the most creative guys I've ever seen in terms of just coming up with different ways to encourage writers and give you resources in a lot of different categories. So it's good to be here. Brian had suggested talking about a new start to a new year. I think I could get a unanimous vote that everybody in this group is quite happy to see 2020 disappear. I mean, it's been a tough year. It's been a tough year for writers. It's just for myself, I lost a half a year of work. Didn't have any work the first 6 months, and it was directly related to COVID. I had an author under contract that I was going to help him with the book, and he owns a chain of restaurants. It was going to be a business book, and he called me in January. No, this was in March, and asked if he could get out of his contract. He said, my business is tanking. This isn't the time for me to write. So,
Wow. I didn't realize that, Lyn.
Yeah. And yet I am blessed. There are people that, have been out of work and don't make their rent payments and things like that. So I've been able to do that. But it's been a tough year. Sometimes that's good. Some of the best writing comes out of hardship, comes out of tragedy, comes out of dark places. So as you kind of think of your writing goals for 2021, spend some time looking back on what you experienced this past year. I don't journal. I call it something else. It's my book of days. It's a Canson art book, 90-pound paper, and I put pictures in it. I write things. If I see a cartoon in the New Yorker, I put it in there. I put poems in there, and I actually write. And I spend the January 1st every year with my book of days for that year, and I just kind of go back through it. And sometimes that's a great way to reconnect with your thoughts and feelings that you experience, and especially in 2020. So I see there's a dog somewhere in the picture. That someone had a dog. Did somebody have a dog and they were petting a dog?
Maya did. She had a cat.
Yeah,
and a
that
dog.
was me. I admit it. Two
Okay,
dogs,
well,
two cats.
You're going to get a bonus today, because not only was it a bad year because of COVID, but a year ago today, you can see my little 14-year-old German short-haired pointer just gave up the ghost.
Oh.
And it was tough. She has slept in my bed since she was a puppy. So that was tough. So here's your bonus. Of course, I wrote some sentimental maudlin stuff, but then I wrote the words of a song that was written by a woman named Wendy Francisco. I think she wrote it in the 90s. So it's been around for a while. And I'm going to prove to you that I'm going to keep my day job, because I have no future as a singer. So here's the song for my Gilda. I look up and I see God. I look down and see my dog. Simple spelling, G-O-D. Same word backward, D-O-G. They would stay with me all day. I'm the one who walks away. But both of them just wait for me and dance at my return with glee. Both love me no matter what, divine God and canine mutt. I take it hard each time I fail. God forgives, dog wags her tail. God thought up and made the dog. Dog reflects a part of God. I've seen love from both sides now. It's everywhere. Amen. Bow wow. So there's your bonus.
Classic.
You got a bonus today.
That is classic. I never expected to hear you sing a song tonight, Lyn.
Well, it took a lot of alcohol throughout the day. I'm just kidding. Anyway, I'm glad to be here. I hope you do some goal setting. That's another thing I do every January. Some personal goals from your writing. What is it you want to write? Maybe try some new things. And then one other thing I've done this year, after my silliness of my song, I'm a guy, and guys don't like this, especially of my generation. We don't like to admit any weakness. We never get sad. We never get depressed. But this has been a tough year, and I've experienced. I'm an introvert, and yet I've experienced a lot of loneliness this year. So I've been spending more time than usual, sort of replenishing my soul or my psyche or spirit or whatever it is. And maybe you might need to do that too. So, and maybe, Brian, I don't know if you've got an agenda, but.
No agenda.
Pardon me?
No agenda.
Well, I just wonder if any of you would like to share, how do you kind of start out a new year? Do you have any special rituals or related to your writing? And thought maybe people could just share a little bit about what it's like to go from a really tough year in 2020. Hopefully it can't get much worse in 2021, although when I look at what's going on in our nation's capital, I just wonder what is going on. But maybe some of you would have some ideas to share.
Good idea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and speak up.
Okay. So I'm not a New Year's resolution kind of person, but the last couple of years, I'm more of a one word kind of person. I don't know if anyone else chooses one word, and I find that to be very helpful. And it's usually a word that either the Lord's been impressing upon me, say October, November, December, leading up to the year, and just one that looks ahead. So I kind of use it as a theme for the year. And so for this year, I just announced it's 2 words, but it's just stand firm. And I feel like that's going to help to carry me through whatever storms we go through in 2021, and just looking and reflecting to 2020. So I would suggest maybe a one word or a verse that can carry you through. I don't know who else does a one word? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. I just find that so helpful.
Yeah, I used to do, I was too chicken to call them resolutions, so I used to call them my New Year's intentions, things I intend to do, but I quit on that because I never did those either. And I went to the single word about 3 or 4 years ago. My word this year is consideration. Consideration.
It has a lot of different meanings.
It does. And the reason I chose that, my in my freshman year of high school, I had a teacher I couldn't stand, and I had him for 3 periods in a row.
Ooh.
And he was an odd duck. And today, I mean, he's gone now, but he's the best teacher I ever had in my life. And one day he said, and he would do things like this, I'm going to teach you the most important word in the world. And we were all thinking, now what's this going to be? And that's the word he said, consideration. He said, consider other people. Consider other points of view. Be considerate. So my word this year is consideration.
Awesome. Awesome. What are some of the other single words that folks have for this year?
My single word is patience. I'm not the most patient person. I like things done and quickly. And I also have found myself in the role of caregiver going into this year. And, you know, I think it's difficult to have to rely on someone else to do things for you. And it just, you know, I think about that and I think I really need to be patient with those that I'm giving care to because no one wants to feel like they're a burden. So when I think about patience in receiving my blessings because there are specific things that I've prayed about. So patience in that area, patience when I'm dealing with people, and just patience with people, you know, because everybody is going through different things in this life. And it's real easy to judge and to jump to conclusions and to react. And so I'm taking time to just stop and to think about and to listen and to hear other points of view before I give an opinion or even before I say anything. I'm finding myself sitting back and being a better listener. So patience is my word. It's pretty broad, but.
Good for you. I could probably use that one too, but I don't think I'm going to. So Patrice has got her hand up.
Yeah, so I choose a theme every year, but this thing I do every year is in the month of January, I don't do anything goal related. My goal is to start the year in February. So I have a couple weeks left I do that with everything. I'm not a morning person. I'd like to ease into everything. And I used to struggle in December to get a goal and theme and all of that. So last year, my theme was in 2020, I win. And actually, for me personally, 2020 was okay. And so this year, I have decided this is a year of the independent artist, which is something I've already talked about. But for me, it helps not to do anything in January except just listen, receive, be kind to myself, and kind of finish out the year before. And that has helped tremendously in my world over here as a free-spirited artist.
Cool. Anyone else want to share their word?
I have to say, I've been through a lot of trauma this past year, and it got crazier as the end of the year. And this is the first year that I can remember that I didn't choose a word. And until you mentioned that, Lyn, I had forgotten all about it. It was, I was very disappointed because last year was my year. I had freed up a lot of time. I was working part-time, and I was going to finish a book. Actually, the series, because I've written halves of 2 or 3 books in this series, this Bible study series. But I normally choose a word, and I'm day one of our devotion writers team for our website of my church. I'm in Chicago. I never mentioned it. And so I always, October, November, I'm trying to come up with what God wants the word to be for the first day of the year. And I don't know how I got to the word, and I don't even remember what the word was. We were given themes this year, which was different, but I had already finished it. So it's interesting how the process, this was the process that kind of threw everything out the window, because in New Year's Eve, at the end of the year and into the new year, I read my journal of the year and see where I've been, what I've done. And I'm in two groups right now, a journaling group and a writing group. And we're using a year journal to set up our goals and everything. So I'm trying to be purposeful. So maybe that's my word.
Purposeful. There you go.
So Lori, you say you're from Chicago. 3 of my 4 adult kids live in the Chicago area. And I haven't been able to see them much because, because of the COVID. And we also have another thing in common. I was very interested in your comments about your missionary work in the Congo. I'm an old missionary kid, so I can relate, though I didn't have the types of problems you had in the Congo, but that's kind of neat. And may I ask what church you're a part of?
I'm actually a member of Trinity.
Oh,
UCC, Trinity Church.
Oh, cool.
But I'm actually a new member. I was an assistant pastor of a church and pastored a church for 25 years. And I took care of my parents. My father passed in 2012 and my mother in 2015. And at that point, when I came back from the Congo in 2000, I was supposed to go get my PhD. But I got back and found out my father had seemed to have traits of Alzheimer's disease. So I put that on hold. And so in 2015, I went to work on my doctorate in ministry. And at that point is when I resigned from my church. And I kind of actually was going to a women's Bible study class at Trinity. And next thing I joined. So I've been like a member for 6 years or so, 6 or 7 years. And it's been a great journey because I've been in and out of that church. I used to follow Reverend Wright. I always call him Jeremiah Wright as a young person when I first went into seminary. So God has circled me around because I was a city planner. I was an artist, art major. I've been all over the place. And now I'm seeing that I'm actually being centered because I've always thought, people ask me, so what are you doing now? And it's all related. So I'm happy that I'm not as schizo as I thought it was.
Well, say hello to Otis for us.
I will.
I interviewed Lori's senior pastor, Otis Moss III, twice this last year when I was in the video interview series. Really, really good guy. Anybody else have a word that they want a word for 2021? Mimi, go ahead.
There I go. I start my day with some form of devotional or meditative time, and I came across something today that I really needed to hang on to by Henry Nouwen. And it's the beginning of the year. I don't know which date it was today, but it's a 365. It's called Bread for the Journey. And he talks about God being a God catcher. And I thought that was awesome because I need God to catch me. Actually, I don't understand parts of myself, but I just believe God catches me when I'm on the abyss. And I'm one of the people that my rent is behind. I mean, I'm paying some, but it's not complete. So I've had to apply for, and I got it. I've never had to do this before. So it's quite a process. And so that's what my thinking is. God's going to catch me this year.
Wow. Well, good luck with that. Yeah, I hope everything turns out okay.
You're
Well,
not alone. You're not alone. There are millions of people that this has affected, that for the first time they've had to go to food lines. For the first time they've had to apply for rent relief. I mean, this has been tough. This has been tough.
right. Yeah. So I also feel, I'm not alone there, but it's a different, I've been in hard places before, but what I find in my own life is God always catches me when I'm on the abyss, where it's not what I do exactly, but my dependency needs to be on him. And I've had a lot of rest about this, in spite of everything else that's going on that's quite turbulent. And I don't know what else to say, but I just really believe that he takes us out of these really difficult places. And I've seen that in other times of my life, so there's a lot of books in there.
Yes, that's what it sounds like. Anyone else want to share their word?
Can I was just gonna say, I think I'm gonna start my new year in February too, Patrice. That's a good idea. Because I messed up on my New Year's resolutions. I made a list and then my computer broke and then I forgot. And so I'm just gonna start over, and that's the idea. Thanks.
So I don't have a word, but I have a project. And apologies to Sabrina and Patrice, because you heard this already before, but my new project for this year is called How to Heal Our Divides. And last year when the pandemic hit, I was supposed to have done like 8 conferences, in-person conferences in 2020. And so all of that, went away. So I did some of those online, but I also started these video interview series. And I did one, ended up being 78 interviews, called Reading Hope in Trying Times. And then another one called Faith, Hope, and Love During an Election. So I always knew that after the election, I wanted to do something about kind of healing divides, because I've never seen our country anywhere near this polarized, with all these serious political, racial, religious, just like ridiculously detrimental issues. So I decided I'm not only going to do a video interview series, I'm going to turn it into a book. And then I decided I'm not only going to do a book, I'm going to turn it into a whole platform. And when I say platform, I mean just like Writing for Your Life, Publishing in Color, and Compassion Christianity. Those are the 3 platforms that I, launched and manage. And each one of them's got, websites, social media, weekly emails, podcasts, YouTube, whole 9 yards. And so I'm going to do the same thing with this, because I think it's so important. And the book is basically going to be a series of essays, each of which highlights some organization that's actually doing something, to heal some of these divides. Again, some will be on racial divides, some will be on political divides. I basically recruited roughly 30 people to each write an essay about what they're doing. And Lyn is, fortunate enough for me, had volunteered to contribute to this. And I was just, quite frankly, amazed at how quickly and how positively I was able to recruit people to do this, because so many people recognize that it's so badly needed. So, back to the whole concept of self-publishing, I'm going to self-publish this book because I don't want it to wait until 2022 before it shows up. So hopefully, knock on wood, by June, we'll have a book, and we'll have the whole platform and everything else launched before then. But it's something I'm very, very passionate about, and I'm going to work hard to make it work as best I possibly can. So that's not my word, but that's my avocation for the year, if that's the correct use of that term. So Maya.
Hi, I was struggling to come up with a word necessarily, but this past week I heard a pastor, or actually a doctor, say that, you know, the events of this past year like really brought to bear the sense that like what we need going into 2021 is not to go back to normal. And this was a doctor from Kenya and had some fear for just safety in his neighborhood for his children. And it just reminded me that like, I think for me, like the question for 2021 is how do we work our way back into a new normal? And I mean, I can think about that just even with my own life too. But so I think instead of a word, I kind of have this question of like, what is the new normal? And for me, that kind of has to do with like what changes I can enact in my own life and what I'm hoping will happen just around me in society too.
You know, it's like, you know, all of us had to really adapt in 2020. You know, each person had their own particular set of circumstances that went from here to wherever, right? You know, that was drastically different than what their normal was. And, you know, my sense is that 2021 isn't going to be terribly different, you know, in terms of our need to adapt and figure out, as you said, what the new quote unquote normal, I mean, I hesitate to use that term, is going to be. But, you know, I think adaptation is going to be an even greater than average attribute that people are going to need.
I have the solution if you'd want to know it.
Prayer?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm only half jesting. I do believe the church is the hope of the world. I really believe that. And in the United States, there are over 200 million citizens who claim to be followers of Christ. If every one of them would commit to reflecting just one of the fruits of the Spirit, just one, I'm going to reflect this, and that's going to be my goal. I think we could change the world, but too often we're part of the problem. So that's only a halfway joking, but I got my solution today. This little card says that I have some Pfizer vaccine in my arm. There are advantages to being a geezer. You get this before the rest of you youngsters.
I didn't realize you were that old, Lyn. My goodness. Must be nice.
I had to lie, but it worked.
Well, congratulations. I'm glad.
So far, so good. No after effects. So when you get a chance, get in line and get it. Let's beat this thing.
Yeah. I hope everyone's been staying safe. I mean, this has been so challenging. I mean, I know a lot of people that, you know, thought they were being safe, and I'm sure they were trying, and they'd still catch it. And oh my gosh. So what else? What else are people thinking about for the new year?
So I don't normally start it with a word, but our church always starts the year off with a 21-day fast. I find that's really a really good and centering way for me to start every year, and even just be able to get quiet and hear God better. And just even like Lyn was saying, sort of walk in the Spirit a little bit more.
Well, I've never heard of anyone doing that. That's really an interesting practice. The first 21 days of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a little bit similar to the folks that were talking about how they don't want to start their year until February. You know, it kind of gives, you know, a few weeks to kind of reflect on 2020 and position, you know, yourself for the rest of the year. It's an interesting because so with Writing for Your Life, publishing color, and everything, I have to plan all these conferences out like so far in advance. So this year, I'm doing the business of being a spiritual writer this month. February, I'm doing Publishing with Pride. March, I'm doing Writing for Your Life. April, I'm doing Publishing in Color. And May, I'm doing Christian Children's Book Conference. So I have to plan, almost all of that in the year before. So I kind of feel like I've been living in 2021 for several months because, of having to plan all the logistics and everything associated with that. So I have kind of a little bit of an abnormal transition, I would say, from year to year. Nancy, how about you?
Some of you mentioned that you journal, and I showed you my little book of days. One of the helpful things about looking back over your journal for the past year, we usually remember the bad stuff and forget the good stuff. And by going back over that, I was amazed at how much good I experienced. Somehow we're just wired to remember, the tough stuff. It's helpful to look back and see that there were some good things about it too. So give it a try.
Good idea. Nancy?
Yes, I have a question, but also I guess just with the one word, my one word for last year was shine. And towards the end of the year, I was kind of like saying well, how in the world, it did bring me through the year, but I'm like, Lord, you have a sense of humor, shine. But really, it was a dark year, right? So that's when he calls us to shine. So that's where that one word kind of like helps you get through that year. So it's good to reflect and say, well, how did I live out that word? But I had a question just looking ahead to 2021 for Brian and for Lyn. Are you seeing any trends in the world of publishing for this year, and how are other authors navigating the world that we're living in, and just are they sort of looking ahead to 2022 already, or what can we expect, I guess, for this year in publishing?
Good question. Lyn?
Well, there's actually some good news that came out of 2020. Print book sales increased by 8.2%. That's a really good sign for people in the writing business, because it means the business is coming back. Now, I don't know if that's just because we all had to stay at home and all we could do is read, but anytime the book industry does well, it gives more opportunities for writers. So I would use that as encouragement.
So I was trying to figure out how to answer your question, Nancy. And one thing that I've heard, kind of through the pandemic is that the publishing houses, you know how we've talked before about how, the big guys, the big five or whatever, they are looking for big authors with big platforms, and big following, all this kind of stuff. And, the lower you go in the food chain, the more accessible it is to people that don't have that. But one of the things that I've heard from multiple sources was that this problem is getting worse. It's being exacerbated, that many of the publishers are trying to rely on their tried and true previous star authors more than they are, looking for somebody that's just getting started. So that's not good news, I know, but, I like to tell people what I hear and whether it's, rosy or not. So, you've already gone down the path of self-publishing. I think for what I just described, as well as about, a dozen other reasons, that pendulum is going to continue to swing in that direction. It's going to be more and more attractive for more and more people to go that route. Whether you talk about time to market or controlling your own destiny, or if I've got to build my own platform, market on my own books, why in the world do I need to publish in the, so I'm not saying it's for everyone. I'm not trying to talk you into self-publishing. That's not my objective, but I just see that pendulum continuing to swing in that direction.
I appreciate both of you answering and just hearing what you're hearing through the grapevine and what your experiences are. So thank you.
Sure. Patrice?
And I'm quite bullish about self-publishing. 10 years ago, I would not have recommended it. I think it is it is a trend that you're going to see more of. I think you're going to find even many mid-level authors with publishing companies who ask, what have you done for me lately? Nothing. Maybe I can do it on my own. And, build your audience. Learn from Brian Elaine about social media and building a social media platform. Once you get that platform, you've got your sales channel right there. Sometimes you will sell more than the publisher. So stay encouraged. And before we sign off here, how long do we go, Brian?
Until the hour.
Oh, okay.
Roughly.
Come here. I have to show you, since I talked about the dog so I've replaced her. This is Lily. She's a little camera shy, but she joins me. And I also have to do something else. Brian knows I do this. I hope you don't mind. It's just for my own. This is for my book of days. So just hold still. Everybody smile. All right. You just made it into my book of days. Tomorrow morning, I will be writing about this and the wonderful people I met and how exciting it is to hear of what you're doing. I think there's enormous potential in this virtual room here. And I'm going to be looking for your books, your poems, your picture books, your short stories and short essays. So get busy. That's my last word. Get busy.
Who's Sarah got? All right. Who is that?
Dave. This is Dave the guinea pig.
It's Pet Week. That's great.
You should have another one of these writers groups and tell them that it's Bring Your Pet to Work Day, and they can all show off their pets.
I've got 2 dogs running around the house here with me, but I didn't ever think about that, Lynn. So thank you.
Who mentioned something about mice? Was that refried beans?
Yeah, Sarah.
Yeah.
Sarah?
I have real mice in my apartment too.
Well, I live out in the middle of nowhere, and mice are a problem. And today I got into my pickup truck, and there was a mouse sitting on the seat beside me. Got in there. But I like your idea about the imaginary mice in the corners of our lives, right?
Yeah, thanks.
Go for it.
Patrice, you had raised your hand. Did you want to offer something?
I already forgot. That was such a cute moment. I totally forgot. It's not even that important, probably.
Well, Lynn, you're right. This is a great group to hang out with. And I always love, these conversations with folks and hearing what everyone's up to and just being able to share perspectives on things. So thank you all for joining us. As I mentioned, we've got some conferences coming up. If you want to get involved in the launch of that book that I was describing, that won't happen for another couple months, but just let me know if you're interested. Drop me a line, and I'll add you to the list. For when we're ready for that. But anyway, same time, same station next month, second Tuesday of each month. So feel free to join us whenever you can. And thanks a lot. Have a wonderful week, wonderful month, wonderful year of 2021.
It's going to be better. It's going to be better.
It's going to be good.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. God bless.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.